There were no computers. The internet hadn't been invented. There was no satellite television. There were no satellite communications. There were no, the BBC was jammed. You couldn't just turn on your television and watch CNN. There was nothing like that at all. The news, as we got it, came from the telexes that chugged away in the main entrance of the embassy, Reuters and AP, I remember. And, you know, they used to be ripped off the telex machine, a bulldog clip attached and put onto a hook in the Chancery corridor. And we would walk down and we would read the news off a telex strip. A diplomatic bag once a week. And that was our communication. You know, we had diplomatic telegrams, but in the sense of keeping up with what was going on in the world, it was suboptimal. And people nowadays simply cannot imagine what it was like. Even when I went back in 1988 to Moscow, testing glasnost and perestroika, I went back to set up an information section, public diplomacy, you know, meeting friends and influencing people. I arrived in Leningrad, I remember, on a Friday night, just after the coup. Yeah, so 88 to 91, I was in Moscow, and I left in July. The coup happened in August, and I went back in September of that year. Even then, I couldn't make a telephone call to Moscow in 1991 to let the embassy know that I'd arrived. I had some, and I was staying in a hotel in central Leningrad, and the currency exchange bureau was closed. So I walked all the way up Nevsky Prospect to another hotel, changed money, got the metro back, went to the main post office round the corner from the Hermitage Museum, and I booked a telephone call to my mother in Scotland to say I've arrived. I then phoned the embassy to say I've arrived. But it was extraordinary to think, and this is within very, very recent memory. So at the time we were living in Moscow in the mid-70s, at that period of stagnation, we were immensely isolated. We were isolated personally. We were isolated from what else was going on in the world. Our living conditions were rather interesting. The places we could, the way we could move around was very heavily controlled. And sometimes you look back and you think, golly, you know, how did we survive? But, you know, everybody was in the same boat. It wasn't at all unique.